Welcome to Blind Level Tech. This isn't just accessible tech talk. This is technology on a whole new level. We're showing you just how possible it is to live the life you want.
Good morning, everybody. If you're listening to this episode in the morning, I am recording this episode early morning too, so I guess all I can say is keep that in mind completely when listening to this episode, mostly because usually early mornings are when I have a tendency to go out into the weeds on crazy rabbit holes and rabbit trails, and trying to work on that because I have a tendency to talk a little bit too much. And I mean, I know that's what a podcast is for, but you know, if you want people to listen, you don't really want to blab at them for like an hour straight, but that's okay. I've got to say too, it's been pretty lonely over here, honestly, on this podcast. I've had some solo episodes for a while, but been a while since we've had a guest on, which is why I'm happy to be joined today by Marty Sobo from Unmute and Code Orange. So yeah, good to have you back, Marty. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks so much. I'm glad to be here. As always, we have fun things to talk about and new things that have come out. So, you know. Yeah,
a lot of new Apple stuff that it's interesting because Apple just keeps cranking out new hardware, and this isn't like an Apple show, but we do report a lot on Apple because it's
important.
It is important.
You know, they're always working on either fixing or breaking, depending on the time of accessibility features. So
yeah, it seems like the trend as of at least the past years, they've fortunately finally been fixing. Wow, what an alliteration. They've fortunately finally been fixing the foolish... can't continue that. Darn it. They've been fixing their little errors, though, and especially a lot of the strange accessibility issues with iOS and macOS.
My question to you is, there's been two different occasions where they've announced new software and hardware. Do you prefer the keynote with the crazy video and all of that kind of stuff, or do you just prefer this last one where it's just like a press release and here you go, new stuff?
I think it really depends on the release. I think for this last release, they didn't need to do a keynote. It was kind of just more of a, I think a press release was appropriate in this case, mostly because, it was just some new iPads, the M5 update, and new Vision Pro update, which we'll definitely be talking about. But I think for updates, when they're out announcing new phones and a new year, a new version of iOS, and really presenting like big hardware changes and big hardware updates, totally do a keynote. Although what I'm thinking though is that it seems that maybe they could be a lot shorter, because a lot of the yearly upgrades now, especially nowadays, and it's been this way for years, they're just more incremental and more like, slight revisions as opposed to completely brand new devices. So I think for the sake of phone launching, they should keep it in a keynote fashion, but they should probably like shorten it significantly. But
yeah, usually there's like all kinds of things they want to discuss in detail because they're talking about the different versions. So you have, for example, like an iPhone 17 regular, and then you've got an iPhone 17 Pro. And they kind of want to go through all the features and differences between the two.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And demonstrate it. Like I remember when the iPhone 7 came out and it had that the Bionic chip in it. That's when they had this whole like video of a bunch of monkeys and things, and I think the point was, this is what we can do with this hardware. This was all done on iPhone. So it's kind of that big flex of this is what your hardware is capable of. They show like photos that were taken on the iPhone. So it is kind of an opportunity for them to show off their hardware and to kind of share their percentage. Like, this phone is 10% faster, but I don't know. I don't watch a lot of that because I just don't find it as entertaining because,
a lot of it's kind of filler,
Yeah. I feel like, and that's why I'm like, you could take so much of that filler out and just say, here's a new phone, new iOS, new watches, new iPads. Here's a HomePad that we're going to be coming out with, a HomePod with a screen. And actually, that's a thing that I've been hearing rumblings about, is that they are, I've heard this for, over a year, that they are trying to come out with a screen, like a HomePod with a screen, basically just a stationary iPad with really good speakers and home automation capabilities. So,
yeah, I guess we'll see when it comes, what it is, when it drops. So who knows?
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
So the last time we talked, one of the things that we talked about was iOS 26, because that had just dropped. Since then, there's been a couple of updates to iOS 26 to fix some bugs and go through and kind of clean up some stuff. So where do you stand with iOS 26 as of now?
I definitely think that if you want it, now is a good time to upgrade. And even on 26.0, there were some bugs, but it wasn't like things like iOS 8 where voiceover was completely unusable. But there was this really big one that impacted people if you restarted your phone, or if you ended up on a screen where your passcode was required. The thing was too, with Siri disabled because you just restarted your phone and all that, you really couldn't turn it back on. And sometimes the triple click shortcut wouldn't even work too. So it was kind of a problem, because you either had to like connect it to your computer, turn it on that way, or ask for sighted assistance, or just guess your passcode and hope you get it right.
Yeah.
Like I said, kind of in last week's episode, if your phone becomes unresponsive to a point where, no, you can't use Siri, you can't really, voiceover doesn't work. If it completely locks up on you, the best thing you can do is a hard reset. And, a lot of people know on older iPhones, it was the power and the home button. Newer iPhones, you push the volume up, then down, then hold the power button down. Don't hold them together, though, unless you want to call SOS, which I can't imagine you do. That's definitely the big reason to upgrade. So if you have 26.0 and you haven't upgraded yet, go do that after you listen to this episode. But there haven't been any like voiceover, like speech becoming unresponsive, or it has read things a little differently sometimes, but mostly like the way it pauses between when it says like the name of an app versus actions available, or basically its hints have been a little bit more, I don't know, choppy, but nothing,
not quite as smooth as they should be, but I don't think it's a huge deal, though. I think it's workable.
Yeah, it's workable. So if you've got a device that runs iOS 26, I definitely would recommend giving it a go. It's a really nice upgrade. And, we've already done a whole episode on all of the new features that they've implemented. So go check that out if you missed it. But I've personally been enjoying the upgrade on my 16 Pro. And I've also noticed, too, that they fixed this really annoying battery drain issues where, and the weird part is I could figure out that my phone was draining its battery, because if I put my ear to the back of the phone, sometimes if you have a good ear, you can actually hear the hardware, and you can hear like the electronic noises. It was making this high pitched noise. And
really?
That was
that only on your device?
It was on my device, but I think
I never experienced that.
Yeah, I think it could be on other devices, but I think something was just stuck on and running, and just I'd leave my phone and I would barely use it, and I'd be at like 20% by the end of the day. But
even after you did a reboot, it would still do that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So is that something running in the background, or do you think it's a hardware issue?
I think it was something running in the background, but it was a system service. It wasn't something that you could see in your apps.
Interesting.
But either way, they fixed it. So.
Well, did you get that resolved? Cool. That's good.
So either way, long run short, 26.0.1 is definitely a good upgrade, but they will be coming out here with iOS 26.1, I think.
Sooner than later.
If not this week, next week.
Yep. And it's supposed to just clean up a bunch of things, resolve some issues, and there's supposed to be some new features. So we'll see how that goes and report back when it drops and we have time to play with it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, they've also unleashed a bunch of new M5 products, and first of all, I can't believe we're already on the M5. I still have my M1 Max and a couple other devices like that, but even remember when they came out with the M1 chip back in 2020, so it's hard to believe we're already there, but
I know 5 years just flew by like it's nothing.
Yeah, for real.
It's basically an update to the M4, kind of on the same pace as they've been staying at for all of the other M chips that they've released. They're about on a 1 year pace at this point. The first one, M1, came out in 20, and now we have M5, and it's 25. So they're putting them out at least once a year. The one thing I will say at this point is this particular chip that's out right now is just the straight base M5 chip. They have not released the M Pro or the M Max yet, so we're still waiting on those.
Yeah, and I think you only get the M5 Pro and M5 Max on the Mac, but they at least have the standard M5 on all new iPads, but they did also upgrade the iPad Air to the M4 as well. So it's one step behind, but they're kind of incremental upgrades. And from the M4 to the M5, at least what we're seeing here is slightly better graphical performance, better use of, and we hear this a lot, but better AI performance, so better with Apple Intelligence or ChatGPT or whatever you're running, and better efficiency with battery life. And I think that for some that are, if you're debating whether to upgrade or not, that might be a good reason to get a newer MacBook or a newer iPad.
If you're on an M3 to an M4, though, I don't know if I would suggest upgrading. I mean, unless you're doing some really crazy hardware rendering, I'm not sure that you would need to upgrade. I mean, if you're on M1 or M2, then possibly. Maybe. But I mean, if you're on M4 already, M3, M4, I'm not sure you need to, unless you're doing some crazy hardware rendering and you need to have, that power to be able to do that.
Yeah. I would say, especially for my Macs are still all M1, and I've been able to get by with them, and I haven't even noticed a bit of a performance dip. So I'd kind of say that, yeah, I'd agree with that, because unless you're doing graphics design, or if you're a music producer and you work with a lot of plugins and crazy stuff like that, maybe take a look at it. But I think the good general rule is, as long as you've got an M1 chip or newer, they're all still supported right now by Apple, and you'll still continue to get feature and software updates when they come out. So if you're not noticing any performance, like any lag or anything like that, or your computer's
sputtering, if your computer's not putting, sputtering, giving you issues, Yeah,
if your computer's not working like an old car on 3 cylinders, firing, there
exactly.
You go. then hold on to it. It'll be all right.
Now, when it comes to the laptops, for whatever reason, I'm not sure why they did this, but they've only released the M5 in one version, which is the baseline MacBook Pro, and that is the MacBook Pro that's sort of a hybrid between a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro. And the reason why I say that is because when it comes to the processor, you're just getting the M5 in this new machine. So it's the M5, just the regular. There is not an option to go up to the Pro or the Max. So currently those are still on M4 if you need to get those more powerful processors. It does have more slots. So you do get like the MacBook Pro body of the computer, so you get all the extra ports, Thunderbolt, HDMI, all of those things. So that's the only option with the M5 that you can get right now. And currently on the new, what they're selling out of the box at the store for MacBook Airs is still the M4. They did not upgrade the MacBook Airs to the M5 processor yet. So you really only have one option right now in the M5 processor, which is the base MacBook Pro. Right. So I'm not sure why they chose to do that, but
No, but it makes me wonder. Maybe they're making their chip lineup a little bit more cohesive, or it was a little confusing having like the M5 or the M Pro and the M Max series chips and only in laptops, because it wasn't really clear, you're getting a computer with the M4 chip in it. And the only real differences between the Pro and Max were just more graphics cores and slightly better performance, but there wasn't like that much of a difference. It sounds like they might upgrade the MacBook Air in the coming months, but considering that they did just kind of redesign the MacBook Air like a couple of years ago, it makes sense that they're just trying to kind of keep it the same. Because usually if you buy a MacBook Air, that's kind of the one that you buy if you need a Mac, but you need something that's nice for light work, documents, web browsing, and the like. But usually if you're a photographer or a videographer, a music producer, or a graphic designer, then that's when you'd want to go with the Pros. Any of them.
Right.
So
anytime you need that extra power.
Yeah. Well, talking of Pro, I guess the last thing we're going to quickly touch on is a new Vision Pro, because the Vision Pro was one of the only other devices that Apple has that had the M series chip in it. And the original Vision Pro that has already been out for a little over maybe almost 2 years now. I think they had like an M3 chip in it, and
M2, I think.
Yeah, so it did need a little bit of a bump, if you have a Vision Pro out there, but so I'm not sure what this means for the Vision Pro. They weren't super clear on that, but being that it's the M5, I suspect we're going to get hopefully better battery life, because currently you don't get the best battery life with it's okay, but that battery pack will only get you so far. And it's still going to be the case with the new Vision Pro. You'll still have that external battery pack just because of the fact that you're running really small, really compact hardware that's also very, very sophisticated, but very compact, just enough that they didn't have room to squeeze a battery in without making the thing look like a giant brick on your face.
Yeah.
So
I think there is a little bit of better battery life. Ooh, say that 5 times fast.
Better battery life?
Yeah, there you go. So I think you'll get that. Other than that, I don't really think that there's much difference, except, with the M5 processor, it'll probably be a little snappier, a little smoother. I haven't really had a chance to really sit down and play with a Vision Pro too much. Just, I'm not such sure where I would find use in something like that. That's the first thing, just for my own personal use. And secondly, it's expensive. So it's not one of the things I would just run out and be like, oh, pick up the new Vision Pro. I didn't get the last one. So
no way. It's still like $3,500. And
yeah, I think that it's high dollar, out of reach for most people.
And it is. I think right now it's kind of like, it's one of those, like, if you want to be an early adopter of this technology, then, if you have the means, go out and do it. But the last time I had tried a Vision Pro, I found the concept of spatial computing, as they call it, effectively using your hands with no tactile feel underneath them to control the device. I could not get it. I could not get a handle on it at all.
Now, were you able to try the virtual typing where you're kind of just typing in the air, but if you're looking through the Vision Pro screen, it looks like you're actually typing on the keyboard?
Honestly, no. But it was only because I struggled to try to get around the app screens and actually go into apps and use them. I know I had to have a lot of help from the associate at the Apple Store, because I had sound cues for where I had my hands, and I could tell if it had recognized that I was actually trying to do something, but it just wasn't responsive enough, or it wasn't fluid enough that I could actually get a grip of the interface and kind of mentally map it and move around, because that's how I usually use devices in mental mapping anyway.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'm wondering, maybe this update will make that the the performance for gesture tracking a little bit snappier. But it sounds like too they're introducing these air pencils, which kind of sounds interesting. It sounds like another physical way to control the Vision Pro. So
I know. Well, we're going to see how that is. I mean,
exactly.
It's just I don't know. You're going to have a air pencil that you're going to be able to just use in the air. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Things are getting crazy.
It's like when you draw in the air with like a sparkler or whatever. When you draw your name in the air, and it like that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
You'll look like a conductor conducting a orchestra.
Right, because nobody's going to be able to see what you're doing except for your persona on the front of it. They're not going to be able to see you working. It'll just look like you're waving this little pencil around. So
this would be a cool experiment to try if we can get our hands on one with a new pencil when they release it. But you have like a half video, one of what it would look like of what you're actually doing, inside what it looks like on the screen. But then also to have the other part of the video where you can see what you are doing outside of the screen. So it would be, like you're conducting an orchestra or, something like that. It would be really funny, I think.
Hey, that is a good experiment though, because I used to draw things like on paper just to see how accurately I could do it. It'd be kind of fun to see how accurately one can draw in the air without any tactile sense of where they are like underneath them. So if
edit it all together with like some crazy classical music to make it look like this half video to be cool.
That would be a lot of fun. And I think they have the power. You have the power to make that on Apple devices now. So
you definitely do.
If we ever have, if we get the funds and if we get the means to, and it's popular enough, we'll try to get our hands on a Vision Pro eventually. And I'd love to
see if we can
it.
play around and see what we can do.
Yeah.
And if we do, we'll bring that to you guys so you can check it out.
Absolutely. What we haven't brought to the audience in a very long time, and we haven't done honestly since I've had a guest on though, is
the sandwich of the
week. Way too long.
Yes, and I'm hungry.
I am too. And it's morning right now. And
yes,
I like me a good breakfast sandwich mostly. Especially with sausage, egg, cheese. I'm not going to McDonald's though, because I had McDonald's twice already. So I think I'm going to go with actually the Jimmy Dean kind of breakfast sandwiches, just because they're simple. They come in a nice little packet. You just stick it in the microwave for like a minute and a half, and then they're pretty solid.
It's just quick. Fills the void.
Yeah.
I think like if I would to choose something right now, I would say a big fat breakfast burrito, even though it's not technically a sandwich. We can call it a sandwich, I guess, because it's wrapped in bread, and you could have like eggs and hash browns and sausage in there with some guacamole and some sour cream. Sounds good.
I love it. Getting into the technicalities, because we had a whole discussion of, is a taco a sandwich, a hot dog? I think, and the conclusion we'd come to was anything that is sandwiched between two pieces of bread or that is wrapped in bread can be considered a sandwich.
There you go.
Therefore,
case closed.
Yep. I will count your burrito.
There you go.
Well, Marty, thanks a lot for joining me today. I know it's a bit of an unusual episode, but aren't they always that way on BLT? I think that's just the show theme.
I think it totally is. But we also want to not wait if there's new products that come out that we want to update you guys on and make sure that everybody knows what's out there and what all the new products are, especially if there's software that's been released that's going to fix bugs or issues that are causing people a lot of headache.
Yes, and anything that'll directly impact the blind and low vision community, be it bugs with voiceover, magnification, or new tools that'll just make your lives easier, we want to report on them, Don, as soon as they release. As much as we can.
Yep, definitely. Absolutely. As things drop, we'll keep you posted.
Of course. So, with that being said, if you like this episode or you have suggestions, comments, or feedback for me or any of the other hosts here at Aftersight, please let us know. We really appreciate your feedback, and you can do that by emailing feedback@aftersight.org, Or if you're like me and sometimes you like to talk a lot and you'd rather leave your feedback in the form of a voicemail, go ahead and call 720-712-8856. And if you like, we can even play your voicemail on the air as well. It's always fun. So, yeah, thanks again for joining me, Marty. It's always been fun, and I'm sure we'll be around, on future episodes.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast, as always, and we'll definitely be back, and we'll see you next time.
Indeed. Thanks again for listening. This is another episode of Blind Level Check. I'm your host, Evan Starnes, and, I'll talk to you guys again next Wednesday.